This is easy.
What is up, GOAT World? It is me, your boy JDZ, and I'm back at you again with another GOAT format video. This weekend in Las Vegas, there will be a 3v3 YCS taking place. Additionally to that, there will be an Ultimate Time Wizard event that will also be a 3v3. The formats chosen to participate in this 3v3 are going to be Tengu Plant, Edison format, and of course, GOAT format. It is going to be a historic and epic event, I'm sure of it. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be there in person, but I thought I'd take some time to provide my analysis on what I think the meta is going to be like there, and also some deck and tech choices you should consider playing, and some decks you might want to stay away from if you're going to find yourself playing in YCS Vegas in the GOAT format position. But before we hop on in, make sure you go ahead and like this video and subscribe to this channel and turn your notification bells to the on position. So for this video, I'm mainly going to be talking about GOAT format specifically, but some of this information may be transferable or translatable to the other retro formats that are going to be played in YCS Vegas in the Ultimate Time Wizard event. If you are like a very seasoned player in GOAT format, maybe this information might not be as applicable to you. But if you are just a duelist who doesn't play a lot of GOAT format and you find yourself in that GOAT format position on your 3v3 team, you might want to pay attention because some of this stuff may be able to help you out. Okay, so the meta based on the nature of the Ultimate Time Wizard event system and also the status of GOAT format IRL, I assess the field to be primarily comprised of low to mid-level Chaos control players, GOAT control players, and mid-level Chaos Turbo players. So with this known information, there are going to be significant advantages that you can take for yourself if you are prepared to go into this environment. The field will primarily consist of duelists that aren't up to date with the latest trends of GOAT format, and also they might not have the latest deck and tech choices. So the decks are just going to be suboptimal and the duelists might not have the most skills. Additionally, this is an IRL event and they will be playing by current time rules. So there are other things that you can do to prepare yourself, because a lot of duelists that show up may not be prepared to play GOAT format in time, especially if you play online a lot. So there's some things you need to be prepared for. A couple of tips that I just want to add right here up front when playing in this environment is that time is going to be such a large factor. I would pick a deck, or I would prepare myself to play in time. Also, I would prepare myself to play against duelists that are seasoned vet. I have it on good authority that there are some extremely high level players that are going to show up to this event. They're going to be playing those GOAT pods against you. So if you don't have a lot of experience, keep in mind that you could be playing against some of the best GOAT format players in the game, and that might be a disadvantage to you. So I would try to avoid time as much as I can when I'm building my deck, or I will be prepared to play in time because GOAT format is just a slow game naturally. I would try to avoid mirror matches at all costs, because if you find yourself in these GOAT control mirrors or these chaos control mirrors with someone who is more skilled than you, it's going to not end well for you more often than not. Also, these tournaments could be rather long as well. So I would try to find something that is simple and easy to use and consistent and fast, so you don't get that mental fatigue from playing IRL. So those are some of the tips I want to have. And now with that information, I'm going to go ahead and pull these decks up real quick so you guys can, just so we can talk about it a little bit more and you can have some ideas of what I'm talking about. All right, so here it is. I made this quick little tier list. It's not really a tier list because I'm not comparing the decks to themselves. I'm comparing the decks to you as a player, and decks you should probably think about playing. If you don't have the same amount of experience, or you don't have a lot of time to train and put a lot of GOAT format matches in, this is a video for you to maybe think of some of the best ways to allocate your time in the short amount of time you might have left. Or if you've already made your choice, maybe you can reassess your choice. So I'm not going to go over all the decks in GOAT format, or I'm going to go over quite a few, just talk about them really briefly and if you should play it or if you should not. So in my little list, as you can see here, I have a you should play this. That's the deck that you probably should highly consider playing based on all the information that I've already given you right now. And in the yellow, I have solid choice, but there's always like there's a little caveat in there. There's a caveat that I say tread with caution. You could play this deck, but be caution. And in the red, I finally have just straight up, just don't play this. Don't take this deck. Don't waste your time. Don't waste anybody else's time. Just play something different. Some of these other choices I have. So obviously we're going to start this thing with the most common and most heavily played deck in GOAT format. That is going to be the Chaos Turbo strategy. Obviously you think I will put it up here in this you should play this category, but I'm not. I'm going to put the Chaos Turbo strategy in the solid choice but situation. I say that because, as I mentioned before, there are going to be some very elite Chaos players there. They're going to be some of the best players in the game there, along with a large field of people who aren't on that same echelon of play. So if you show up and you're just a regular person who doesn't play a lot of Go format, and you're trying to just sack with the best of them, you're going to end up falling short. The thing about this Chaos Turbo mirror is that it is going to go to time probably every single time. If it's a grindy 2 out of 3, 45 minutes is just not enough time to play a Chaos Turbo mirror these days. It's going to grind out, it's going to go to time, and you're going to short sell yourself. So I would really, really run the numbers and make sure that you are fully prepared to play Chaos Turbo mirrors all day, and against some of the best players, also some of the worst players, but probably some of the best players too, and also going into time. So it's a solid choice, but be prepared to go in time. And that's basically the same thing for the Chaos Control decks and the Go Control decks as well. I'm putting all 3 of these decks. These are 3 of the most played decks in GOAT format right now. I would definitely consider rethinking playing these decks. I would not take a Go Control deck. I probably should put Go Control and Chaos Control even lower, but I know that these are the cards that people have, and these are the decks that people are going to play regardless. But if you are going to play these decks, I would try to make these decks a little bit more aggressive, or have a way that these things can modulate time towards the end of the game, or a way that you can speed it up a little, make it a little bit faster. Maybe you can start talking to your opponent, hey, can you play faster, or something like that, to ensure that your games don't go into time. So there are solid choices. They probably can win this event, but it is going to come with a cost. Okay, the next deck I'm going to talk about, the next really meta deck, is going to be the Warrior strategy. Warriors I'm going to put up here in the you should play this. Okay, I think Warriors have a solid matchup. You might think I'm crazy. You might turn this video off by saying that. Why would you send Warriors into all these GOAT based decks? You know there's going to be a ton of Go Control players in there, a ton of old school Go Control players in there. Warriors might have a hard time with that. There's going to be a ton of Royal Decree in this event. Warrior players have a lot of hard time with that. But I think if you tech this Warrior deck correctly, I think it could have a great pick. Maybe you main deck Assure Priest how they used to do years ago. Get out of the mindset that we're in 2024. Revert back to 2020 when people are playing Assure Priest, Book of Moons in the main decks. Things like that, I think that could be a great call for this tournament, because Warriors can end the games quickly. They can end the game fast. They can play Solemn Judgment. A lot of new players, they might not be prepared to handle getting their card Solemn Judgment like that in this GOAT format game. If they don't play a lot of Ghosts, they might still think Solemn's a bad card or something like that. Warriors can jump all over them. They got the Trap Dust Shoots. It's a solid pick. And it also is a deck that you can play longevity wise. You know, you got to think this might be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rounds maybe of this tournament, and you're just going to be just constantly playing. Warriors are pretty simple and easy and elegant in that way. So I would consider doing that. Also, if you got your partner who's next to you, maybe they can give you a little bit of coaching a little bit easier if you're playing the Warrior strategy. So I put Warriors as a solid, you should play this strategy. Okay, we got Recruiters in here. Recruiters, I'll put them same thing with the other like real meta decks. It can be good, but it can grind. It can grind. You're going to go to time. You're going to be playing these weird matches all day. It's just not. I would be very reluctant to do that. The next deck I would have I have Rescue Cat here. Rescue Cat, if you can play it, if you can learn the lines and you can learn how to play this deck and make the right calls and make the right reads, I'm putting Rescue Cat in the you should play this deck, because it is super powerful. It's pretty consistent. It's consistent enough to win. Okay, it's really powerful. It's not that hard to use. It's pretty hard to use, but it's not like impossible to learn if you just dedicate the amount of time to it, and you won't have to worry about going into time. And this deck can literally beat anybody. It can negate all, it can kind of balance out that skill that you're going to lose if you're going to a Chaos Turbo mirror, or if you sit down and you don't have the skill set to play a Chaos Turbo mirror against some of these players and you play a Rescue Cat, it'll kind of balance that out. It'll negate that. You can just sack your way through it. So if you're trying to win, you need to put your honor to the side and up your sack factor and try to get the dub. Speaking of, I'm about to just immediately caveat that, because I have last turn here. Last turn, I'm putting last turn in the do not play. I think it's not consistent enough. It's too cheesy. It's too one-dimensional. I think their IRL people play Royal Decree a lot. Like, it is a staple almost in the side deck. From what I've observed in the times that I've played IRL and I've gone to some of these events, Royal Decree is a heavily played side deck option. So be prepared for that. If you're coming in with a trap heavy deck, you're going to get washed out of there. I would not take last turn to this tournament. Gravekeeper, same thing. I would not take Gravekeepers to this tournament. I think somebody will be playing Gravekeepers as a pet deck. I think it's going to be a deck that can probably make some noise. It is a kind of a noob stomper. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with last turn. Last turn's a noob crusher. Gravekeepers can kind of beat newer players pretty easily, but I wouldn't consider either one of those decks. Empty Jar. If you're playing like Ron style can be up here. I think Ron Empty Jar can be on a you should play this because it's a confusing deck. It'll catch people off guard. People might not know because it's kind of a newer situation. Like people may not be ready to get Ron'd on. But if you're just playing standard Empty Jar, maybe not, because people, guess what? They're gonna have damn Necomane Kings. They're gonna be playing that because they're gonna be prepared for the library. They're gonna be prepared for all the jank. They're gonna I'm talking about the field at large, not the small percentage of very experienced duelists that are going to be there in Go format. I'm talking about the field at large. People will have Neko Main King in their side deck 100%. But if you're going to go Ron is here. Classic Empty Jar I'm putting down here. Another deck that can absolutely cheese with the best of them, Reasoning Gate. Reasoning Gate, you should play it. As much as I hate this deck, as much as I hate to see it, if you have the card Dimension Fusion, if you have access to that card, you should probably play it. That's going to be a limiting factor. Dimension Fusion is still a very rare card. It was reprinted, but it's still pretty expensive. But if you have the ability to have Dimension Fusion, I would consider playing it because it is this deck can level the bubbles, level the battlefield. It can beat anybody. You can sack with the best of them, and it won't go into time. You don't have to worry about that getting cheese in time. You can just Reason Gate your way out of it. Terrible deck. I hate the deck. Well, I don't hate the deck. I don't like the deck. But if you're trying to win this thing and you're trying to support your team, cheese is probably the way to go, and Reasoning Gate is going to be the deck that can do that. Another deck that is actually a solid choice. I'm gonna put this in a solid choice, but as much as I hate to, I'm gonna put the Pac-Man strategy in a solid choice. But same thing I mentioned before, Road Decree is going to shut you down. Pac-Man I gotta put Pac-Man down here. People are going to know about it. I think the cat's out of the bag about Pac-Man stuff. You might beat someone, but the deck also grinds and it plays terribly in time. It's going to lose hard to Road Decree. You're not going to have a good time if you play the Pac-Man strategy. I wouldn't do it. So maybe get the Pac-Man up out of there. Do not play it. Unsleeve it. Put something else together and make it happen. Same thing with the Monarchs. I'm putting Monarchs down here. Don't even bring them. Leave them at the house. 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 Don't sleeve them up. They're not going to work. It's going to be bad. Don't do it. It's too fair. It's too fair. It's too slow. It's too inconsistent. Obviously someone is going to play all of these decks. I guarantee you there's going to be a Monarch player in there. There's going to be a Pac-Man player in there. There's going to be a last turn player in there. But I'm telling you, don't let that be you. I would roll the dice with any of these other decks up here first and see what happens before I go to this row down here. Another deck that I think would be a great choice. I think Lockdown Burn is a great choice for this event. Again, it can cheese. It can play in time. It can win. It can balance your skill. It can make it more even. If you're an unskilled player, it can make it even. You can set Gravity Bind, sit behind, make it happen, throw out some wave motion cannons and just vibe, so I think this is actually a very great call. And Burn in general, I think Burn in general is a IRL destroyer. People who play Burn IRL have great success. So I would put a Burn strategy or a Lockdown Burn. I will put that up here. Zombies, I'm putting zombies way down here. I'm putting zombies that do not play. Do not bring the zombies. They're too fair. They're too slow. You're either going to lose or you're going to lose. That's it. You're going to probably beat a couple people, but you're not going to get far with the zombie strategy in this type of event. With the fairies is a solid choice. I'd put fairies up here. I put fairies as a solid choice. I like the shine balls. I like the Venus. And another huge tool that I failed to mention in my other tips for players is that playing cards that people may not be as familiar with in GOAT format, the Agent of Venus, maybe they the Tengu player, they're going to be playing it, but they see you playing it, they might not know too well. You got Zaborg in there, you're playing creature swap, you're doing all kinds of cool stuff. So being unpredictable and being playing off, like really off meta stuff could be a vibe, like your own brews, your own concoction and stuff could be the way to go. But I think Fairy is actually a solid choice. But the only reason I would say that it's not is that it might, you might just, you got this surprise factor. You have the surprise over the top factor, but at the same time, it's really not going to give you a significant advantage over these other meta decks. So, but I still think it's good enough. I think it's good enough to be played. I think it's good enough. It's a solid choice. Same thing with the Lynx deck. Anything relinquish, I think is good. It'll catch people off guard. People won't be prepared for it as much. The relinquish turbo deck or any type of relinquish kind of thing, I'll put that as solid choice. The mass driver big DMOC launch deck, I'm putting this here as do not play. Okay, I'm putting that right down here as a do not play deck. Granted, I know I mentioned other things about like being cheesy or being consistent or being fast, but you want your deck to also be good. Like you want to support your team. You want to be able to win. You want to be able to win for your team. And if you're playing a deck like Mass Driver, and you go out and it just bricks and you die before you even get a chance to even play, at least Rescue Cat you can play, Reason Negate you can play. All these other decks, I'm thinking this deck, it can just literally lose and you're just letting your team down. You paid money to go to this place and travel and you're literally just actively failing your team. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's a kooky deck, it's a fun deck, but the Mass Driver stuff, keep that out of there. Okay, I would also, another deck I'm putting up here, all this kind of cheese. There's two kinds of cheese. Okay, there's two layers of cheese. You got your Swiss and you got your American cheese. You got your all different types of cheese. I think Stein is good Gouda, dude. I think Stein is good cheese. Stein is consistent cheese. I think Stein is good enough to make noise, and Stein can beat anyone. It can make very unfair games, and you can be annoying. You know what I'm saying? You can come out there and anybody can get Stein gated, anybody can get all that kind of stuff, and it goes by pretty quick. The games are happening fast, so you don't have to worry about dragging out and going through this whole stuff. You just go out there, Stein somebody, and you be done with it. Also, another one I'm putting up here. I'm putting Earth up here. Actually, Earth might be hard against the control that you're going to be facing, but still, if you have it updated to the current meta, or if you downgrade it to the previous meta, make sure you're ready to play some goats. Make sure you got those King Tigers. Make sure you have Book of Moons. Make sure you're ready to play against goat decks. I think Earth is another solid pick because people come in there and it just hammers. It hammers. Earth can crush the mid to low level turbo players. It'll just destroy them. Warriors will crush the mid to low level turbo players. Stein crushes. Lockdown crushes. So you're trying to find matches that you can just destroy people with, and it's not going to be a lot of mental taxation. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be sitting here thinking and going through all these lines of play all day long because it's not going to be maintainable. All right, the next deck I'm going to talk about is Royal Magic Library. I'm going to immediately throw this right on in here. Not necessarily because it's a bad deck, because this is an IRL event, okay? And you're going to have to defend yourself. You start putting Royal Magic Library on people will fight you. Like, this is not a joke. Like, please just leave it at home. Don't sleeve it up. Unsleeve it. It's not even worth it, dude. It's not worth the violence that is going to come your way. Like, if someone sits down and they start doing Royal Magic Library shenanigans on you, it's going to be a mess. Also, additionally to that, this deck is kind of hard to use. It's very glass cannon. You could just lose immediately. Same thing, like I said about the Mass Driver stuff. And it's not that good. And the deck is actually kind of hard to play. So you're going to waste your time trying to do all this, wasting everybody else's time, and you're still going to lose. It's not the vibe, dude. So I would not consider, for safety reasons alone, please don't play Royal Magic Library at this event, because it will not go well for you. Okay, it will. Some bad's gonna happen to you. So we got Bazoo Fusion. Again, I'm gonna put Bazoo Fusion. I'm gonna put it. I could probably put this higher, but I'm not. When I'm talking Bazoo Fusion or Zoo Fusion or any type of, I'm talking Dimension Fusion, the card. I think I'm gonna put it up here because Dimension Fusion, I think, is an IRL destroyer. I think people who have Dimension Fusion are at a significant advantage, and when it's played, it just ends the game. I think it's a really cool card, and maybe I'm holding Dimension Fusion too high, but it'll catch people off guard. People won't see it coming. Speaking of not seeing it coming, also Return. I think I'm putting that up here. Return, people won't see it coming. They just won't be ready for it as much. People are gonna be ready for this. They're gonna be ready for this mirror. They're gonna be ready for Chaos Control. They're gonna be ready for Go Control. They're gonna be ready for the Recruiters. They're gonna be ready for these decks, and maybe Warriors. You might see Kinetic Soldiers a lot, but I think Warriors have kind of solved that guy. They've kind of figured that guy out. They figured out Royal Decree and things like that. Panda Burn, that's up here as well. So I know I got a lot of decks up here. Panda Burn is another deck that I would strongly consider using because, again, Burn just nukes IRL players. They just don't know how to play it. I don't think Mystic Walk has reached the main circuits of IRL duelists. Like if you don't follow GOATs at all, literally, if you watch these videos and you watch these streams and you participate in the GOAT format community, you are going to be leaps and bounds miles ahead of your opponents in GOAT format. That is just a fact. That is just a fact of life. But if you don't, you're going to be going off of very old, outdated information, and you might not have Mystic Walk information yet. You're still going to be on Royal Decree. Burn has absolutely figured out Royal Decree, like without even an issue. They've absolutely figured out Des Wombat without an issue. So it's going to be a very, very difficult matchup for them. And I think it's a great pick if you know how to play Burn. So that's a good solid choice. Again, very cheesy up here in this top row. Very, very cheesy. The next deck I'm going to talk about is going to be the Thunderclap strategy. I think I'm gonna put that probably I could put up here. I'll put it up here too. I'll put Thunderclap up here. I think that's a solid pick. I'll put it right by Return because basically the same concept as Return. It will catch people off guard. They won't see it coming. I'm pretty sure the IRL scene is not going to be ready for Zaborg and Blade Knight and Gravekeeper Spy and Magician of Faith and Dekoichi and Ninja Grandmaster and stuff like that. Like the recruiter, they're just not going to know how to play against it because they're not going to know how to side it properly. They're not going to know how to react to the things that are happening to them, and it's going to generate significant advantage for you, the player. So if you know how to play these decks at this top row at a high level, I would consider playing them because it will give you significant advantages over the people who don't. And last is going to be Water. I just always leave Water on here. I don't know why. Water, don't play Water. Okay, well, don't play Water. All right, I've never put Water back down here. I know, but still, here are the decks. Here are the choices I think you should probably consider playing at the top row. Solid choices, but really rethink it. If you are that guy, if you are that Chaos Turbo guy and you know that you can dominate this mirror match, then of course you should play Chaos Turbo. But if you are just on the fence about it and you don't play a lot of GO format, I would strongly stay away from this row right here and maybe this row down here. Pick up some cheese and just support your team, put your pride to the side and just try to get the dubs for your organization. But that's what I have. So I just want to get this out here really quick. Good luck to everyone who's going to be participating in YCS Las Vegas. I wish I can come again, but I'll be excited to see what the results are and who turns out and who ends up winning. But that's all I have for today. As always, I'm JDZ. I play Ghost. Until next time, shout out to all the real ones. Salute to the OGs. Peace.